Can you tell me a little bit about that, what you mean by the way of being church? And a follow-up question, how are you experiencing moving along that way, working this synod process in Des Moines?
Sure. Well, I'm going to start with a simple image. We all go on journeys, and we all pull out our phone and figure out where the address is and hit search. And if it's long enough distance, it's going to give you multiple ways to get there. And usually there's the most direct way or the fastest way. In the church, the fastest way is not always the best way. So that's what I think of when I was thinking of this particular part of what Pope Francis is calling us to, is we've always had synodality in the structures of our church. Think about all of you out there, think about your pastoral councils. Think about your finance committees. Since this is a catechist stream, think about your faith formation committees or evangelization committees. You bring people together, hopefully a very diverse group of people, including some who are disaffiliated, maybe, if you're really bold, and you try and chart the path forward together. Father gets the final say, but all of that together helps get a picture of the pastoral landscape so that we can use our resources for the most important ways to move the mission forward. So that's what I think of.
So many of us have already had some kind of experience, I think, of parish leadership life or Catholic school leadership experience. Basically, practically speaking, we might be talking about councils or committees, just like you mentioned. What is it that makes synodality or a committee or council that's trying to be more synodal? That is a real word and a great Scrabble word. What makes that different from just your run-of-the-mill committee and council?
So I think the big difference in a synodal process is you're trying to assess the ministry landscape, the mission landscape, not necessarily brick and mortars. You're aiming really high. What are those ways in which the gospel can be made more present, more real? It's there, it is real, it is dynamic, but how do we as God's people bring it to life in this local area of the world? And so in many of our synodal processes in leadership, you're dealing with pastoral issues that are involving things inside the church. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say that's good, but this process is looking outward. This process is looking so for example, your parish boundaries. How many times do we make decisions when we think about everybody who occupies those parish boundaries, whether they're Catholic or not?
Which is a larger territory than just the physical church campus.
Exactly. And those people who come in just to the church campus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I would say is the aspirational difference, and where Pope Francis is saying, instead of just being one of the ways in which to assess the ministry landscape, this should become the way, because by assessing it from a very large perspective of a church that goes out, a church that is healing, that is that field hospital, we need to think bigger, which means assessing as much as you can the entire people of God to chart that path.
Someone say, like my pastor, to try to start reaching out to people that in the parish or people that are no longer part of the parish and say, hey, we're going through this synod process and your voice really matters. I think it's hard for Catholics to believe that, some of them. And I think it's a huge challenge, and it's a great challenge for today. What do you think about that?
Well, Matt, what you just said is very much the experience that we've had as we have entered into these waters of synodality. That, in fact, one letter that came in recently really it said, okay, I'm going to take you up on your challenge, and I'm going to hit you hard on racism.
Mm.
And it was a beautiful letter. It was hard to read, but are we going to take that seriously? Because here's the thing, Deacon Matt, to be more bold, to be more prophetic, to be more visionary is going to require that we need to make changes, substantive changes. Now, it's not going to happen immediately, but we need to start moving that direction. The only way we can do it is to start with people's experience today.